Lord forgive me for this trap shit. Sergeant Smack making backflip. Telly Hank did with the action. With the vital speaking Spanish. Frank Matthews how I vanish. Poof. Came back like I'm King Tut. Gold BBS is on a beamer. When Fat Cat was 10 queens up. Ball off the profit, not the re-up. Fly like Puerto Rican Jesus. Uptown like I'm Baby May. Just caught a touchdown from the Bay.
Levi Henning had just left his family home here on Bartmer in North City when he was murdered. This happened Thursday, the same day a judge cleared Henning in a violent crime.
He was on his way to court to appear, and he was murdered outside of his own home.
A suspect in Kirill Das's murder has been arrested, but tonight the case is back to square one. And that's because the suspect's attorney says they did their own work and found he was wrongly charged.
Now those charges are gone. And News 4 investigator Susan Alcori is hearing from the defense. They claim this is another case St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner has mishandled. Susan?
Well, Corey, all of this comes down to evidence prosecutors are supposed to turn over. Levi Henning's lawyers tells me it took almost 3 years to get all of the records they're entitled to. On top of that, he says the evidence pointed to someone else. With one motion, 21-year-old Levi Henning is no longer an accused murderer. Have you ever seen something like this?
I've never seen a case this bad. Not on the police side and certainly not on the circuit attorney side.
Henning's lawyer, David Mueller, claims his client sat in jail for 3 years, all because St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner's office held back evidence that he believes clears Henning's name.
It's either gross negligence or it's a willful denial of defendants' constitutional rights.
It's a case that dates back to April 2020. In the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood on Franklin Avenue, 18-year-old Kirill Das was shot and killed. She was a senior at Parkway West High School. An anonymous tip led police to Henning, who was 18 at the time. The prosecutor on the case was Assistant Circuit Attorney Shrikant Chakrabarti. According to court filings, defense lawyers asked for investigative records. Chakrabarti turned over some, but not everything, and even wrote in an email that he knew things were missing and he had a lot on his plate. Once a new prosecutor took on the case, additional evidence was turned over. That includes DNA and thousands of pages of Facebook records. Henning also had a lawyer change and hired Mueller. He says that added evidence kept pointing to a different man.
Mr. Chakrabarti had all of this information before Mr. Henning was even charged. In my opinion, I don't believe he reviewed it. But he held on to it, and he refused to hand it over.
Mueller also argued in court filings that police signed an affidavit falsely claiming a testing on the gun found on Henning confirmed it was the same one used in the murder.
That report does not exist. In fact, the report that came says the exact opposite. This is an unconfirmed report.
He believes prosecutors should have caught that or turned over the evidence sooner so the defense could.
There are two people that, in my opinion, that falls on immediately. Mr. Chakrabarti himself, but when you have a pattern and practice of this kind of denial of rights, that also falls on his supervising attorneys. In this case, that's Ms. Gardner.
News 4 Investigates keeps asking prosecutors what's next and if there's a new suspect in a now 3-year-old murder case. They haven't answered.
Somebody has to be held accountable for what's happening.
Henning is still in jail tonight for a robbery he's accused of from when he was 17. We keep trying to talk to prosecutors and police. At this point, we haven't heard back. We also reached out to Das's mother. We haven't heard back from her. And it is worth noting here that prosecutors did initially in court filings say that they had some of this DNA. They turned it over, but it wasn't all of the reports, and that pointed to another suspect. And a big thing, though, ultimately prosecutors dismissed this case, admitting they just didn't have the evidence.
And Susan, it seems like this case also switched hands a number of times. Why is that?
Well, we had changes with the prosecutor's office. We also had changes with the defense attorney. And again, as all of this was happening, COVID was just hitting when this happened. So all factors there.
Something you'll continue to follow. All right,
An alleged
Susan,
violent suspect is murdered on the same day a judge clears him of a violent crime. Fox Files investigator Chris Hayes has the shocking turn of events in this high-profile case.
Defense attorney W. David Mueller had just secured a judge's order clearing his client.
This should have been one of the most joyous days of his life, and he never got to experience it. He was 2 hours from freedom.
21-year-old Levi Henning was shot to death at about 8:20 a.m. Thursday morning. St. Louis police homicide was on the scene. Investigators report Henning was shot in the chest and head.
The family is obviously in deep pain. This should have been a restart to his life.
Henning was once charged with the 2020 murder of Parkway West High School student Cariel Doss. Then this past March, Fox 2 broke the story when the circuit attorney's office, under Kim Gardner's tenure, dropped the case because of a failure to turn over evidence. Cariel's mother, Janetta, then told us in May.
I don't know if it got lost. I don't know if they didn't feel that it was important, but they never turned it over during the time.
Henning remained locked up on a 2018 robbery charge, but not for long.
As you'll remember, there was DNA evidence that the state had withheld for years on the murder case that came back to a separate individual. Well, when I really dove back into the robbery case, I found out that there was the same issue. There's still DNA evidence that I've never received, Chris.
Henning was freed on bond May 18th as Mueller argued that the 2018 robbery case should be thrown out for violation of speedy trial rights. The judge agreed Thursday.
He was completely free. Every case had been dismissed at that point. And you get the news that he was, I was expecting him to be in court.
Instead, St. Louis police were gathering evidence in Henning's murder at the precise moment a judge was clearing him. I reached Cariel Doss's mother, Janetta, by phone, who told me she heard the news from police Thursday and is simply speechless. She said she was also unaware until I told her that the judge cleared Henning in his second violent criminal case, but that she's not surprised based on a history of prosecution bungles. There is no evidence of wrongdoing by the new administration, which has been in office less than 1 month.
First here at 5, he walked free from murder charges because Kim Gardner's office admitted they botched their own case. But just weeks later, Levi Henning ended up dead.
And now tonight, another man, Jacorin Riley, is charged in Henning's death. The arrest and charge is just the latest chapter to a confusing case that News 4 Investigates has been looking into for months. I'm Lauren Traeger in for Samantha Jones today.
And I'm Corey Stark. Jacorin Riley is related to the person Levi Henning was accused of killing. News 4's Dion Broxton is breaking down all these new developments. Dion?
Corey, these new court documents say that Levi Henning was killed execution style. Police say he was hunted and killed. Talking to the family of Levi Henning after his murder was difficult for David Mueller.
Feeling their pain through the phone, going to see them at the house, it's terrible.
Last month, Henning was shot and killed outside his house in the West End neighborhood in St. Louis. Police just arrested Jacorin Riley.
Out of vengeance is so sad.
Court documents draw a link between the two men, showing Henning was accused of killing Riley's sister, Cariel Doss. Doss was murdered in April 2020. Henning was arrested and charged. He sat in jail for years until recently when St. Louis City prosecutors dropped all charges. Henning's lawyer claims prosecutors mishandled the case and sat on evidence pointing to another suspect.
He was innocent of those charges. I don't think that the Doss family was ever given information from the circuit attorney's office about why they dismissed that case.
Mueller is running for circuit attorney. He says this case made him want to change things in the office once led by Kim Gardner. Mueller pins his client sitting in jail for years in part on Gardner's mismanagement.
I miss that girl so much.
Cariel Doss's mom sat down with News 4 Investigates in June before Henning was murdered. She spoke exclusively to our team about her hopes the case would be reopened under a new administration. She also had just filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Henning.
If there is someone else on this case that they have not interviewed, they have not picked up, that know something, I want to get to the bottom of it. I want the justice for my child. I want them to go to jail like they are supposed to. And I want them to understand that that's somebody's child.
Lawyer David Mueller maintains Levi Henning's innocence and believes so many mistakes by police and prosecutors led to today.
Had they said, look, we actually arrested the wrong person, we accused the wrong person, or we don't have any evidence really linking Mr. Henning to this crime, I think he'd be alive today.
Now, did bro get killed for having good lawyers? For getting him off for a crime he didn't commit? Yo, we back. It's Shay's Popalot. Salute the almighty MOBB. We on our way to the show me state with it. Y'all go ahead and meet us in St. Louis on the West End. Now today, I'm going to be telling y'all the story of a 21-year-old by the name of Levi Henning. Now, in the past 5 years has been pretty tumultuous for Levi Henning, who was gunned down outside of his family home in late June of 2023. Now, depending how you look at this case, you're either going to determine that it's a case of street justice or a case of wrong man down. Now, things begin to get crazy in Levi Henning's life at around 17 years old. But while a lot of kids were awaiting the Christmas holidays and enjoying some of those days off that you get from school in December of 2018, according to the St. Louis Police Department, Levi Henning was accused of stealing a woman's car at gunpoint in the Central West End neighborhood. In a case in which his attorney, David Mueller, who was probably the guy that saved his life before his life got taken away, would claim that prosecutors would make missteps in evidence that would lead the case to drag on for nearly 5 years. Now, facing an armed robbery case at the age of 17 would be a hard pill for anybody, but matters would get extremely worse for Levi Henning in April 2020 while he was handling his business for that armed robbery beef. Because according to authorities, while absconding from a teen treatment program that was linked to that armed robbery case, and I'm not exactly sure how, but Levi Henning would find himself accused of the murder of a Parkway West high school student by the name of Sierra Doss, where, according to his attorney, he would spend additional years in jail for a murder that he claimed that he did not commit. Now, KMOV CBS 4 would report for how years prosecutors would sit on evidence that would point to another suspect. And in March of 2023, the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office would go on to drop the murder case against Levi Henning, citing insufficient evidence. After the charges were dropped against his client, Levi Henning's attorney would say, "I've never seen a case this bad, not on the police side and certainly not on the circuit attorney's side." So with all that information, you would have to think that on June 22nd, 2023, that Levi Henning woke up with somewhat of a clear conscience while he was on his way to court to be vindicated for every charge that he had been fighting for the last 5 years. But he wouldn't make it to the courtroom that morning. His attorney would state that, "I left court that morning ecstatic to share the news with him. I didn't see him in court that day. I was a little surprised. I tried to contact him and the family, and that's when I found out." Not a month would pass from Levi Henning's death on July 19, 2023, where authorities would name a suspect in his murder, 25-year-old Jacorin Riley, going on to say that Riley's motive for the murder was to avenge the death of his sister, 18-year-old Parkway West high school student Sierra Doss. Now, in his probable cause statement, it says that Riley may have been aware of Levi Henning's court date on the morning of June 22nd through CaseNet or by other means. But with what looks like St. Louis's inability to handle murder cases, and I'm not sure if that's with the cops or with the circuit attorney's office, so who knows how this one is going to play out. But regardless of how this one plays out, was Levi Henning marked for death just because he was accused of this murder? Now, they said there was no substantial evidence against him, and there was even evidence pointing to somebody else. And it's a little wild because I'm kind of on the fence with this one because I could see it from both sides. But I definitely want to know what y'all take is on it. Y'all make sure y'all hit that red bell and subscribe button right under this video so y'all know when this real trill spill shit is dropping. Y'all get in the comment box below. Y'all flood it. Y'all let me know, was he the main suspect? Was he the wrong suspect? And if he was the wrong suspect, did the circuit attorney's office mark him for death? Y'all make sure y'all let me know what cities we need to go to, what stories we need to tell, what gangsters we missed, what we got wrong, all of that. Y'all tapping with me directly, Instagram, Twitter, POP_A_LOT. Y'all call me, text me, tweet me, email me, CC me, tag me, mention me, DM me, all of that. I'm here for whatever. It's your ace Popalot. Salute the almighty mob.